beautiful souls. It has been a couple weeks now, I think, since I've made a video. And so I figured I would pick up the camera now and just let whatever it is that is supposed to come forward. But I just spent the last week in Panama. And for me, this was truly, truly a powerful experience, but not because of where I was in form, but because of where I was in my own mind and in my own perception of what was going on. So we'll see kind of I guess predominantly what it is that I wanted to share was my experiences since being home, and what it is that I learned when I was there and have continued to carry with me since I've been home. So this Panama trip, basically, one of my girlfriends, Rebecca, she won this trip through a pack of organic potatoes. And it seemed that the day that we won it was the exact day that we joined and said that, we were open to going wherever God would have us be, that would be most helpful for us and those around us, so that we may help heal our minds and to help heal this world. And that very day, we received a phone call saying that we won a free trip, all-inclusive, flight, food, stay, everything, to Panama. So the winning of the trip itself was great, but it's nothing special. That was not a thing even necessarily to be celebrated, because what we are teaching is that miracles are natural. They happen every day, all the time, and they do. So this was just another reflection of that here in form, that we are getting to share the lessons learned with the whole world. So that itself is a miracle to me, the sharing part. So as we embarked on this adventure, for me, I knew that this was a gift from God, and therefore I knew that we needed the purpose to be of God, right? That no longer could we go there with our own intentions, no longer could we go there with our own decision making, no longer could we go there with any other focus other than healing our minds and seeing our brothers as holy as possible. So the morning that I woke up with that thought of holiness, and the thought that was repetitive in my mind was, my holiness envelopes everything I see. So that morning I sat in stillness, and I allowed my mind to be carried into the love of God, as it always does as we sink back behind the thoughts of our thinking mind. And as this experience was happening, I felt so whole and so complete, as I always do, and just even being present in that moment was so euphoric and perfect that, and still, that when the thought of going to Panama in half an hour came to my mind, it was like, oh yeah, wow, this is going to be a fantastic, incredible trip, but I'm having a fantastic, incredible time being in this moment in my mind right now. So I knew at the beginning of the trip that it wasn't going to be any different no matter where I was going, because no matter where I was, there I am. So I took this powerful feeling of the presence of our Creator within me, and I knew that it was my purpose to extend this holiness of that which I am to everyone and everything that I came across in this experience during this trip, right? So we then continued to proceed to the airport, and from beginning to end, the trip was absolutely effortless. It was so, so, so fluid and natural and easy. Nothing went wrong, no hiccups, and anytime we saw things that, quote unquote, didn't go the way that we thought it, we referred back to the thoughts, I make no decisions on my own. Because ultimately what we're learning is that, we have two minds within us, and we have been conditioned to live through the one mind of ego, and that one mind of ego is of self. What am I going to do? How am I going to make myself better? How am I going to look better? It identifies with the body, it identifies with this world. And so what I've been putting into practice is to no longer trust that small I in my littleness, but in turn to trust my magnitude as a soul. And what that entails is having trust, right? Trust is the crust. That's what I always like to say, right? And if we have trust and we empty everything out, then we know that things would happen 10 billion thousand times more than we can ever thought imaginable, right? So any time that we've had planned something perhaps and it didn't work out the way that we had thought it would be planned, it was because we knew God had another plan in store. So for instance, right, the first night that we are there, we think that we're all high and mighty sitting in the Panama sun, which we are, but you know what I mean, sitting in the Panama sun, and we don't really put any sunblock on except for coconut oil, taking some beta carotene, taking some natural ways of healing our skin and healing our body. And because of that, we got burned to a crisp. And we knew there had to be a reason for it. We knew there had to be a lesson beyond it, and we just trusted it. It was excruciating for the first day, but really could have been so much worse because it was just enough to keep us still. And you better believe that as we continued to go through our days, that we were being reminded of and shown of the imperative importance, right, of stillness and quietness. Because still, I know, like with my girlfriend and so many other people, it's so easy for us to have a tendency to do so many things outside of ourselves, to help so many people, to want to do so many things, to want to commit to all these obligations, to want to go to work and do all of this stuff. And it keeps us so busy, it keeps us outside of the self. And again, this goes back to the littleness of I, who wants to make itself in this world, and wants to be something in this world, and wants to help save this world. Right? And yet, our power comes from within us, right? So if we're not giving that devout time to our internal teacher within to hear it and to listen to it and to learn from it and to become one with it, because we ultimately are, we just need to remember that, then we are distracting ourselves with the things outside. So we really learned that this burn was to keep us in stillness, to keep us in quietness, and to keep us going from inside out instead of outside in. So we were supposed to have a trip to go canopying down the rainforest the next day, and that trip got canceled because there's no way I was wearing any of those things on my legs or stomach. There's no way, right? And because of that, we got to spend the time on the beach under the hut this time, and we actually experienced some divine holy encounters with people that were back in Canada that joined with us to help us in our projects for Center for the One, and so many others. And it was absolutely a beautiful, miraculous joining that would not have happened if we didn't get burned and we would have gone on that canopy, right? So again, we continued to watch how everything was unfolding so perfectly because we went hands off. Hands off. This is in the hands of God, not in the hands of Brittany and Rebecca, but this is in the hands of God. And as we continued to do that, it got better and better and greater in every single moment, with more clarity, right? With more confidence and trust in our Father and the voice for God that He has placed within us, and trust in each other as sisters, and knowing that we are doing this together, right? So it continued to be this unfolding of knowing that we have everything we could ever need already right here within us. And I know for me and Rebecca, what we learned the most is that no matter where we are, there I am. That, okay, yes, we're standing on the beach of Panama. Yes, it's absolutely gorgeous. Yes, it's breathtaking. The sun is beautiful. It feels so good on the skin. But then at the same time, it's like, does it really matter if the form that is around me is here, pretty pictures of waves and sand? Or if I'm here in like the nature and the home of being where I am right this moment in form? Does it really make a difference where I am? Absolutely not. Because ultimately all it ever is the way in which we perceive it. Because as we are viewing those around us and those that were like on our plane or on our trip and then on the plane on the ride home, you watch from beginning to end how much more stressed they got, how much more upheaved they got, how much more, annoyed they got, right? Because they were knocked out of routine. People try and go to some place to get away and to relax and to be at peace. And yet what they don't realize is that the relaxing and the at peace is not outside of themselves, and it's not going somewhere and visiting some place, but it is being who we are and accepting who we are. That is the peace. Accepting who God is, that is the peace, because the only peace is the peace of God. Right? And yet we always trying to seek it in form. We try and seek it outside of ourselves. Well, maybe I'll feel better after I have a vacation. Well, maybe I'll feel better once I travel and meet other people and maybe have my mate and do all these things. Right? We keep our happiness and our peace in the future. And so we were able to watch this with everybody around us, with our own awareness of opening to Holy Spirit for reinterpretation. And both of us agreed that our most enjoyable part of the whole trip was the times that we were sitting together with A Course in Miracles, as that's the only book we brought, right? And we'd open it to whatever page was most helpful for us, and it seemed to be the last couple chapters that we really focused on in the Course, in the text. And what we would do is we would read them, and if something felt inspired within me to share, I would share it, and then it would allow us to see our own lives and our own conclusions that we've made and the beliefs that we've made and all of these things that we've made in our head differently, through holiness instead of a mistake. And you better believe that as we opened to that, we accepted the reinterpretation, so that no longer were we feeling any last bits of uneasiness or unsurety or holding on to the past at all of any kind. Because it bubbled up, it came up, we were able to look at it, see we did not want it, and choose again. Because ultimately that's all we need to do, is choose again. Right? We have that choice within us. Either we're choosing from the mind of self, the mind of littleness, or we're choosing through the mind of God, the mind of magnitude, and that is the true mind of that which we are. So we know ourselves to be here as saviors of the world. We know ourselves to be here as the light of the world, as our brother Jesus was and taught us to be and teaches us to be continually, right? And so because of this, right, we hold this as our anchor, and we refuse to hold our littleness for ourselves or anybody else. So this trip for us was just letting go of all the baggage, dumping out all the shit, letting go of every last bit of thing that we've been holding on to in our minds. And it was beautiful, right? It was beautiful. We were also realizing that no matter how much positive intention and focus that you put on the body, including on being all raw and all natural and holistic and oh, my body is beautiful, my body is so gorgeous and it's so healthy and all of these things, which in the eyes of the world, that would be perceived as good thoughts and healthy thoughts to have about one's own body, right? But what we realized is that these thoughts of being beautiful or being healthy or having all of these ways of helping the body and healing the body is really just another distraction of remembering that we are not this body at all, and remembering and choosing that we are a soul, and giving this body a form to our soul to work through and animate this body. Because ultimately when we give all those choices to Spirit, also they're made, right? Those choices of what we're going to eat don't necessarily come from ego if we don't want them to, right? We can give that also to Spirit, and then it happens naturally and automatically. So the reason why I say this is because we had some powerful experiences, like with my girlfriend Rebecca, where we were able to see that no matter how much positive intention and focus we put on the body can still do its own thing and get sick and get crazy capillary burns and hurt ankles and hurt craziness all over the self, right? Because the self is not the body, it's not the form. The self is the soul, the spirit, the eternal. Right? So we were shown that we must take off both sides, thinking that the body's beautiful or thinking that the body's ugly, right? Thinking that we're a good person or a bad person. It's the duality judgment, taking off both sides, letting go of that entirely, because that's the mind of I, the mind of ego, that is trying to judge this world as good or bad or right or wrong or ugly as beautiful, right? And it's trying to judge. Whereas when we let go of our judgments of the body, when we let go of our judgments of the world, when we let go of our judgments of everything, is when Spirit within us can show it to us vastly differently. That it won't be shown to us in any way like it's been shown to us in the past, but it'll be shown to us in the brand new, right? Completely new. Right? And that's ultimately the whole point, is when we recognize that we've been judging something, we let it go, the veils lift, and as the veils lift, we see beyond the veil to the truth that is there, right? The essence, the beingness, not the form, right? So when we no longer judge the form, then we can see the beingness for all that it is. And that is God. That is the light, right? That is the truth and the Savior of the world in them that is the same as in us, right? And so we must continually see this oneness that we are. Not just speak it, not just talk about it, but be it. And we be that by taking responsibility for our own mind and our own thoughts and our own judgments that we've put upon ourselves and upon this world. So if we have any other goal other than wanting to know ourselves, such as wanting to make that money, wanting to have a better body, wanting to travel the world, all of these things, you will never find your happiness in these things. You will never find your completion in these things. You will never get to that step of wanting to actually be helpful in this world by having those as your goals. Because those goals are standing in your way of recognizing that you've already received it. Right? These goals are distractions. These ideas of what might be great are distractions. Right? So we're learning to let go of all of that. And that's what we learned on this trip immensely. Our most powerful and joyful and exciting times were being together, communicating, and talking about who we are as God's children. And reminding ourselves that God's children is all there is. And to continually look past the form, look past the personalities of who they think they are, to the truth of who we all are in reality, right? And as we continue to do this, this is how we save the world. We're shifting the perception. As we shift the perception, the world changes, right? And another powerful thing also that we got to share with one another was that the stuff that's happening outside of us, the waves, the beach, the sand, the people, the everything, is our creations. It's nothing more than that. We can't give it any power. We can't say it's something separate than us, because it's the same as us. We created it, right? Everything in this world has been created by the mind. It was first a thought in the mind and then came to form. And therefore, it is another extension of our power. But at the same time, these creations are just a form and are nothing. They're like a small snippet of our collective universal power. And therefore, we can't get caught in that. Again, we can't get caught in that, right? Because there's so much more that, yes, we can't see with our physical eyes, but that our soul will remind us of when we open to it in stillness and quiet, to remind us of the power and the magnitude that we are and can give and share in this world, right? So we have to stop trying to conceptualize it in this small little box of what we think it is based on what we've learned in the past or what others have learned around us in this world, but instead to step aside, to open, and to allow ourselves to receive direct communication with our Creator. And knowing that the more that we go within ourselves to take these moments of stillness and quiet is when we can receive these answers and see this world truly for how it is instead of how we think it is. And that's what I've recognized I am seeing and I am learning. And therefore, as I'm seeing it and I'm learning it, I can give it and share it with all of you. And then we can all experience it together. It's a beautiful thing. So now that I'm back home, I'm still living out of bags in my car. I still don't formally, quote unquote, have a job in the eyes of the world, but work for my Creator God. And I've never felt more abundant in my life. I've never felt more at home in my life because I know my home is within me and it has nothing to do with what's outside of me. And I will continue to go in every now moment wherever God may send me to be. And it doesn't matter if it's in Panama, it doesn't matter if it is in a homeless shelter, it doesn't matter if I'm on the streets or if I'm at my boyfriend's house. It is all the same to me, because it really doesn't matter where I go, because wherever I go, there I am, and so is God, and my brothers and sisters as well. And that's all that it's about. Pure communication. So, with that being said, I'm grateful to be able to share again my experiences of what's going on here, and I'm thankful to be able to know that you are all here listening and doing your parts with me, and I love you all. So yes, look forward to talking again. Bye!